Okay, so I'm going to show you the diaphragmatic breathing exercises ranging from the most gentle to one that's a little bit more challenging. Now you can see I place my hands just above the crest of my pelvis. My belly button is kind of between my thumbs. And I'm just feeling for the inflation and deflation of that area of my body. As I breathe in, I'm not just trying to push my belly out, I'm breathing into my entire rib cage, expanding my whole torso like a barrel. And as I breathe out, I'm allowing my sternum to drop down to maintain a little bit of intra-abdominal pressure so that it feels like there's a light balloony feeling under my hands on the exhale. So you'll see my rib cage constrict and my sternum slowly drop down, but my belly doesn't actually go anywhere. Now I'm not overly pushing the belly out, I'm just maintaining some level of fullness there by allowing the lower ribs to move down towards my sit bones, towards my bum. You'll see I breathe in. And here's an example of letting it deflate on the breath out, just letting it sink down. Okay, so that's a loss of intra-abdominal pressure. And here's an example of doing it with the rib drop and feeling that slight balloon. So even as I exhale, I'm still feeling there is fullness there. And I'm expanding to the sides as well when I breathe in. See, sternum drops down and in the direction of my hips. I'm exaggerating slightly by showing you the fullness of my belly, but really all we need is to have uniform expansion and contraction, really, of the midsection. We don't want the chest or the belly to be excessively doing it. We want to know how to keep that abdominal pressure as we breathe out. So here I'm setting up for the leg lifted version. You can see that I straighten my leg first and then I kind of pull on it, feel the hip joint resting into its socket, and then rest the leg in a bent position. I feel with my hands to re-establish my breathing and the fullness in my belly all the way through the exhale. And you might notice on this variation that there's a little bit more effort through the abdominal muscles. That's okay, that's just going to be part of this. But we're not looking for surplus effort. We want just enough effort to know that you're in the right position. And the idea is that over time this will get easier and more subtle. So in the beginning, when we're struggling to understand something, we have to kind of contract hard because the nervous system doesn't know exactly which pathways to fire, but as we get better, it becomes easy. So this is adding the leg movement. You'll see I keep my leg bent so that it's a shorter lever, makes it a bit easier. I touch the ground on an exhalation and I breathe in to come up. All the while keeping the same technique through my breathing. So bent leg goes down, exhaling. This time I reach further away. This is a slightly harder variation with a longer lever on the leg, so we're testing the integrity of the midsection a little bit more. Again, we want to do this with minimal necessary effort. It's not about a super hard ab contraction, it's more about that diaphragmatic breathing. Good, breathing out here and then breathing in to bring the leg up. So that's 3 variations so far. You can see as I bring my leg down, it's one at a time, nice and easy with a bent knee, because I want to ingrain good patterns, not be challenged as I return to the floor. So here again, I re-establish my breathing, and we're going to go on to the next pattern, setting up my legs by sort of pulling that hip joint back into the socket, enjoying some nice hip flexion here. What we're going to do now is add one arm to the equation. So we're going to be keeping one hand on the belly. We're going to set our arms up above. And we'll start with the right hand going up, reaching overhead on an inhale, touching the floor or as low as you can, maintaining this midsection integrity, and then exhaling to come back to our upright position. Breathing out, ribs go down towards the bum. Breathing in, whole body expands with the breath. Now the other side, same thing, right hand feeling for a balloon in my belly as I exhale. And then breathing in to come back to 90 degrees. Go for another rep here. It'd be interesting if you haven't done this before to feel your shoulder blades moving through a true range of motion, because often we compensate through the midsection by arching. This exercise helps us to expand and contract the ribs, which can free up shoulder motion. So this variation we're going to add in the leg, but to make it a little bit easier, we're going downward with the hand as well. Okay, the leg is bent initially, it's not completely straight, and we touch the ground at the same time with the hand and foot, ideally, while maintaining that balloon in the belly on the exhale. You can see my hands don't quite return to 90 here. That's an awareness issue that I need to work on. Now we go the left and right. So this is contralateral. Left shoulder, right hip. And again, I don't come back to 90. I want you to come back to 90 on this, hand straight above. This one I'm showing you now is ipsilateral, so it's right hand and right leg at the same time, touching the ground on the exhale and then coming in to the middle on an inhale. And we're going left and left, ipsilateral, breathing out, maintaining that fullness through my whole thorax, my whole belly. See, it's uniform fullness, it's not just an absolute balloon belly with no ribs. And then I bring my feet in to come back down. So we're never challenging as we come back down to the floor. We've done the good work, and we just rest, take a few recovery breaths. Alright, so on to our next one now. This one we're going to add the element of overhead reaching, which is slightly more of a test for the midsection. We're going contralateral first, so right arm, left leg, ideally touching the ground at the same time, returning to the middle. Now we're going to go the other side. See, the leg is still bent here, so you can make this harder by lengthening the leg. And perhaps I'll show you that variation in a second. You can see my hands drift up there. They're no longer at 90. Again, it's an awareness issue. It's something I want you to pay attention to. Know which limbs you're moving and which limbs you aren't moving. Now, this is the ipsilateral side, right and right opening, and left opening. If you're feeling connected and aware of the breath, you can start to extend the leg a little bit more as I am here. If not, keep it bent and just drill the awareness part.